time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the RoundTable here for the Endgame Syndicate. Your court jester, Davis Maddock, here with you. I am joined by a lot of people who are very good at daily fantasy sports. Brian Hooper, Nerdy Tenor, Adam, Ship Me My Money, DFS, and Utica. It's Monday, September 2nd. The NFL season is about to begin. So, guys, obviously that means you're watching the film. You're saying, how can these projections be wrong? I got to have a real opinion about, Jaleel McLaughlin. Samaj P. Ryan is now a Kansas City Chief, so I got to get that dialed in for week one on Showdown. And Nerdy, the Battle Royale streets, man, they are popping right now. These drafts are filling. There's about 19 of these contests for NFL in the lobby. How goes working on the correlated sport toy games?
So fortunately for me, this season is a little weird. There's a Thursday night game and a Friday night game. I don't know if they've ever done that, but
They have
because of
not.
that, there's an underdog slate that's just those two games. So I've just been ripping drafts. I think I'm almost at 100 of those right now. Just testing my stuff and seeing what I can figure out. But it's such a different game with just two games. It's a radically different game than like a Sunday morning, because the positional scarcity makes the strategy really different. Because just for instance, like on this slate, there are really only 4 well projected running backs. It might have just changed a little bit with the news, but just pretend that didn't happen. So, when those start going, if you don't hop on that train, you could be left holding the bag without a decent running back, whereas that wouldn't really happen to you in a Sunday morning. So I think Brian and I will probably, or somebody, maybe you or all of us, will do some of those drafts and see what we can figure out there. But it's been fun playing with those, because it's much less about correlation than scarcity when you only have 2 games like that.
Yeah.
Correlation is still definitely a thing, but it's more about like, oh crap, if I don't take a receiver now, I'm gonna not get a decent one.
The projections almost don't matter for the 2-game showdown type stuff. It's just like, okay, if there are 6 guys in a draft, but there are only 4 teams and 4 starting tight ends or 4 running backs with a decent projection, then it becomes that's when it becomes a toy game. Or I don't know. I guess you could just go in and be firing siege style at backup quarterbacks if you want. But then, based on how you have played those thus far, have you seen people playing poorly, like not understanding that?
Yeah, it's quite a mix. So there have been some really sharp rooms where just intuitively, and when I look at my software, everyone's playing pretty well. But then there will be ones where the very first pick, somebody takes a quarterback and it just absolutely shreds their EV, because everybody gobbles up whatever's left. And by the time it comes back to them, there's no running backs left. The star receiver correlated with their quarterback is probably gone, and Kelsey is gone. So then, you went from having, I don't know, it's like a $10 contest, so $8.88 in EV after the rake, and by the time it comes back to you, you've got like $2 because you're so behind everybody else is drafting. So yes, it's quite a mix.
Okay, I have a question for Yuta and for. I already know Brian's answer, but I'm more. This is maybe more for Yuta. The R squared between projections and actuals for week 1 in NFL DFS, I assume it will be the worst of any of the 18 weeks of the regular season. In fact, I would probably bet that, actually. If I could bet that at even money, I think I probably would.
Yeah.
Do you guys find any value in trying to look at some of the projections and where they might be wrong and altering that before you run your sims, or just say, the sims can kind of account for the fact that the Denver backfield rushing share might be wrong anyway? Like, do you find any value in trying to see where the projections might be wrong?
I do, sure. But that's actually a lot of the battle anyway on an every week basis.
Yeah.
So are you asking specifically about where the raw projection is wrong or the ownership projection?
The fantasy point projections. Not, I mean, ownership is, I think, a different conversation.
Yeah.
But for the the fantasy point projection, yeah.
Well, I'm guessing just as much as everybody else is. Maybe I can guess it a little better, but I'm still working with imperfect information as well. But that's
Right.
really a lot of the battle. And I think a lot of the stuff solidifies after week 2 or 3. For me, I think I have a bigger edge picking up the early stuff and deciding whether it's real or not, more so than necessarily knowing exactly what's going to happen in week 1. Because I think nowadays coaches even are hiding their hand pretty well and not even necessarily revealing what they're deciding. Like they might even show flashes of something that they're not going to do in the preseason, just totally experimentally.
Right.
And then we take that as players, we take that as a sign that they're shifting something where, they might have just been bluffing. Now it's week 1. They're going to do their real game plan. I have a little bit of a struggle with that. I think last year, there was a year, I think maybe last year week 1, Miami was at the Chargers.
That sounds right. Yeah.
I read that poorly, because I thought the Chargers, held them down really well. Then week 1, it's almost as if because in the previous season, Miami got locked down so hard by that Chargers scheme, and it was literally the same personnel. They did a total 180 in that game plan and just went for 450 yards.
Yeah. Tua had 466 passing yards. Tyreek had 11 for 215 and 2. Funnily enough, Jalen Waddle did not have a particularly great game, and River Crackraft scored in that game. What about you, Brian? How are you applying these final hours before week 1 begins?
I think your question, which I want to hear you answer. I think you're getting at week 1, crazy shit happens. We don't know shit yet. And by week 3, week 4, then all of a sudden we're no, of course Moser was going to get all these carries or something. Whatever ends up happening.
That's exactly what
no one expected. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And he's going to be way better at me than this because this is kind of like a preseason thing, right? Where if you want to play preseason NFL, you got to pay attention, and I don't want to pay attention, and I don't.
So you're just hoping that whatever nerds you're paying projections for are paying good attention. You're just hoping that your nerds are right.
Yeah, I suppose, or that everyone doesn't know anything anyways on week 1, kind of thing. Or we all equally are in the dark.
Would that change your game selection in week 1? For example, the one that I always remember is Tariq Cohen, this 5'8". UDFA for the Bears was in the Millie Maker winning lineup week 1 at 0.001% owned or whatever. And I'm just is it if knowing that that's kind of what it takes to win a week 1 Millie Maker versus when, the Lions game stack where it's 3 Lions and 2 of their opposing guys get in and you just need the right one-offs around them. Does that change your guys' game selection at all for week 1, or it's just, that's the nature of the business?
Not me. I mean,
no.
What can you do? You don't know that's going to happen. Tariq Cohen, that was the Mitch Trubisky, won 2 or 3 millies that year, didn't he?
Trubisky has won Millie Makers after everyone knew he sucked. After the Bears were we're over this guy, he won another Millie Maker his 3rd year.
Yeah, Tariq Cohen, too bad. He had a career-ending injury. He was looking pretty good for a little guy for a while there.
He was on the Panthers roster this year, and then retired.
Yeah, he tried one more time, but he just got beat up too much.
I had something I wanted to do for week 1, which I've never done, because I'm like Brian, I'm not a originator of any no ball stuff, but I think one of the things you could do, because even if you're buying from a really, reputable projection source or several of them, depending on how those projections are presented to you, they don't necessarily reflect what some people call the fragility inside the projection. So like
that's what I'm saying.
Running back projected for 10 may not be the same as another running back projected for 10 because that mean or median might be coming from, we're really sure he's getting this much action, or, we're really not sure what role this guy has, and the thing in the middle is 10. And those things are very different. So ideally, like, you'd be treating those kinds of players and team situations differently. But I haven't, to be fair, I haven't really done that myself.
Well, that's the ball knowing. I mean, Adam, you're drafting these best ball teams right now, so you have some more opinions probably on these spots. Like the one that I keep coming back to. Well, there are two spots that I keep coming back to for the main slate. The first one is the distribution of targets amongst the Texans wide receivers, where like if Diggs actually does just step into like a 33% target share immediately, ownership and projections are going to be wrong. And then the other one is the Denver backfield. I saw this. I was looking at player props the other day, and I saw that Javonte Williams' opening receiving line was like 18 and a half yards, which would be like, for any starting Sean Payton running back, that's so low. That's like low. I mean, it's like 9 yards too low on a median projection. So as you are thinking through these spots from best ball, like are you doing a little bit more of the ball knowing just because you've been thinking about these players? You're muted. Classic.
Usually I don't, but I am planning on it this season. Last year I got burned by not really paying any attention to it, and then Kyron, had that game week 1 where, not that I would have ever thought he was going to do that, but I was high on him in best ball and probably would have projected him higher than like the industry was. So this year I do want to go through, like, to your point, and look at the spots where I think there is more fragility. And the other example that I was thinking of was the Bears. I haven't looked to see kind of what the industry is projecting yet, target-wise amongst their receivers, but I think there's a chance that like nobody really knows between Rome and Keenan Allen how things are going to look. Like spots like that where I think stuff from the preseason kind of left unanswered questions, or people maybe there's stuff that's open for interpretation, is definitely something I want to pay attention to and just see, is there like an industry consensus on this, and how confident am I that the industry's right?
What about, so I guess that's the projections. I wouldn't know the answer to this, but is ownership projections going to be the worst that they're going to be in week 1 as well? Is it going to be a similar where something has changed, more people are using sims, less, what is like, guys, is it similarly bad in ownership?
That one I don't think is much worse or better really than anything, because normally that's some function of team totals and price sensitivity, which is kind of like a static thing. So I don't think the ownership it could be slightly worse, but I don't think it's meaningfully worse in week 1 compared to other weeks.
And these NFL fields are just this. You just can't overstate how many more people play NFL than everything else. Like, even if everyone we knew was a sim bro, like it's still just a drop in the bucket in these big contests, which most people are playing. Yeah. Different, maybe at different stakes. I don't know. But.
Yeah. I was gonna say there might be a sim effect, but maybe you're right. Maybe it'll be so negligible in this sport it won't even matter, and maybe just the ownership projections. People are getting lazy, and maybe they need to update their algos a little bit, because they seemed a little off this year. Have they? I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah,
I was gonna say that's what I'm most interested in. Is like, not that I expect them to be worse week 1 than later weeks, but like, are they just gonna be garbage like they were last year?
You're saying public facing ownership projections are worse now than they were a year ago.
They, at least as far as under projecting chalk or the best plays, like they were really far off last year.
Huh. And that's a knock on of the sim effect, where the sims have told us people are being way too cute with the best plays and not playing. The non-correlated example would be Scotty Scheffler, but I suppose the correlated sport example would be Christian McCaffrey or like Tyreek Hill, where it's like Tyreek is projected 4 points better than every other wide receiver, coming in with an ownership projection of 29%, but it actually was 40% because a greater number of the field is either using sims or listening to content from sim bros, where the sim bros are telling them, you gotta just slam these guys.
Yeah, like value running backs, I think, was the one that really stood out last year, where they'd be projected to be like 30% or whatever, and so you just jam them, and then they come in at 50, and like they were missing by like that much.
So what do you do with that as someone who is using that information to create lineups? Are you editing that ownership projection on your end, or what's the intermediate steps there?
Yeah, I mean, in a sport like football where you actually have time to do stuff, I will most likely look at my initial runs of sims and lineups I'm getting to and try and keep an eye on, like, okay, if this popular player that everybody's going to play is still coming in as way lower for the field, like in ownership projections, than in the lineups I'd be playing, there's a pretty good chance that the ownership's just too low.
Are you guys doing something similar, or is it that's all secret sauce type stuff?
Yuta makes his own stuff, so
yeah.
He's just, I'm assuming he's adjusting.
Yeah, I'm adjusting, but I don't think there's anything secret or sly about it. I just would hope that anything I adjust is directionally right to what it turns out as.
Is being directionally right with the ownership, like, at this stage, good enough? Like, I'm assuming player Christian McCaffrey's projected for 28%. You plug him in for 35% after your adjustments, but the actual is 40%. Is being directionally accurate there enough to get you the type of results you want?
Definitely. If I was directionally right every single time, I'd be super happy about it, even if I was only correcting to a small margin.
Okay.
It's all guessing anyway, so if you're hitting all your guesses, it doesn't really matter that you're converting. Like at scale, you're not really converting, but sometimes I can be directionally right and overshoot it, and the outcome is the same, but it's still better than the alternative.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dan, did you do your? I know you did a study on your MLB ROI over the years. I think that was a while ago.
It was, yeah. I haven't done it for this season yet. I did not have a very good MLB season this year, but I have to do NFL. I've done NFL, but my NFL stuff is so unstable. It's kind of a little hard to compare apples to apples because I keep trying to improve it. I have something to do for my own process before Thursday, so I got to get that done. But yeah, I have yet to do my MLB analysis for this year versus last year. That'll be interesting. I think might provide some clues about how the field is changing.
Right. That's why I want to see with the NFL if it's gotten progressively stronger. There's so many players, so many noobs. I feel like NFL will probably be more stable.
Yeah. And just full disclosure, I just never really got very good at NFL Classic. I never spent enough time nailing that down. Still improving my own process there, but I could do some measurement for Showdown slates because
you haven't been watching the All 22, man. You haven't been now they have NFL Pro Premium where you can watch all the film. It's gonna
cool.
I'm
just gonna dive right in there.
You're gonna know all the ball.
I've actually been hearing from people in NFL that a lot of people think that ball knowing should be prioritized more and adds more value in NFL compared to MLB.
I mean, that seems self-evident to me as a person who likes football a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that intuitively.
Yeah,
okay. I didn't know either way because I thought there was tons of value add being really great at game theory in NFL, which is more of a sim thing. Yeah. So more so than MLB too.
But even the best, take you teach a supercomputer everything there's ever known in human history about game theory, but if the supercomputer can't figure out why Tyreek Hill is more likely to get 42 points in this game and not another game, it's still going to be playing from behind. And the ball knowing bros will lose a lot of those spots that you guys would crush them on, you know, some of the ownership stuff, some of the correlation stuff, but you can't, I would assume you can't replace the value of the highest raw point totals.
Like
Sure.
I think about it as, I think it's easier to get a substantial projections edge in NFL than MLB, since you have more inputs you can adjust and be right about. Whereas baseball, you can understand something's a better matchup than the field thinks, but they're still getting like 2 or 3 plate appearances against that pitcher. So like, I think you can create a bigger projection edge. And then if you're better at game theory, that's just kind of icing on the cake and making you crush.
I mean, how would you even demonstrate ball knowing in baseball? Like pitch types and stuff like that, I guess?
You didn't watch your videos,
hard factors.
Like I talk about stuff. I assume I talk about stuff in our chats or Discord that people have never thought about. So I think there's quite a lot. But that's
we're free right now, so don't give it out. Don't give it out right now.
Well, it's the end of the season, so
yeah, this is absolutely the answer. Is that it's almost all usage related, and if you can get ahead of the field and where that you like, I mean, Adam just said it. Like, Aaron Judge is getting 4 or 5 plate appearances, and that's all there is to it. But Devin Achane might get 1 carry. I mean, Devin Achane did get 1 carry and then got 22 carries in the next game. And if you would have somehow seen that before the field, I mean, was Achane even owned the week against Denver? In my memory, I don't even believe he was in the Millie Maker winning. I think Mostert was, but Achane was not. And then Dolphin Fanatic just went on a huge run on FanDuel, Brian. I mean, that guy, talk about an easy $1 million for that guy. Yeah.
It won? Didn't he win like 2? Dolphinatic 75 or whatever? Yeah, that guy's ridiculous. I'm just picturing Dan, watching the tape, and he, in week 8, he just sees the left tackle move just a little bit, and then he rushes to his computer and just starts coding for like 8 hours. He's seen enough. Like, he's just an expert ball knower by then.
I mean, what if you could, I don't know, you guys would have to tell me this, but I mean, couldn't you theoretically, with enough computing power and enough time, write some sort of program to learn something from the film, like to granularize the data from the film, that like, if a ball knower would say this team sucks at this because their left tackle is bad, and then teach that to a model?
Yeah, so I think in theory there's a lot you can learn. I have some ideas for next season, not specific to exactly what you just said. There's a lot you could learn with a computer, but I do think that there are a lot of things that are very difficult to get that way. In particular, understanding like the tendencies and reactivity of different coaching staffs, like how they're going to react to how things have gone and who they're playing next, and how they're going to make adjustments. Like, those kinds of edges, I think, are really hard to capture with a model, right? Because you need to know something about the people involved. But you could absolutely learn a lot of stuff with some more sophisticated modeling techniques. The problem is we just have a real lack of data in NFL. Like, the number of games is so small compared to MLB or just any other sport. The game is evolving very quickly as well. Like, that makes it very difficult to make a really robust model that isn't sort of overlearning or overfitting the last 2 seasons to the future, right? So you really do need people who know what they're talking about. And I don't see that changing for the foreseeable future. Whereas a game like baseball, like, it's true there are edges to be found if you know what you're talking about, but a lot of what you need is just right there in the data. It's just right there. There are things that matter that you can add value, but football is just, I mean, for football though, I mean, you were asking about like the edge versus game theory versus no ball. Like, in most of the games that most people play, there's just so many terrible lineups. Like, grab whatever edge you want. Like, you're going to be okay being good at any one of those things and just not putting in terrible lineups. You're already probably good enough to get a little bit of ROI in theory, at least. But whether you actually realize it ever is another question. But
Yeah, DraftKings at like adding 5% more to their marketing budget helps us more than any of these things. Or like give us some rake back, some decent rake back. That would be like way better than
There is a DraftKings deposit bonus live for some customers right now.
Okay.
It comes in Pick 6 credits, but if you guys have not downloaded the Pick 6 app and look, it's like $1,000 deposit bonus match on Pick 6.
It got that tease, but it's still illegal in Colorado. God, no reason.
Even though you guys have like 20 sports books available in Colorado, they won't do the Pick 6. I think Davis. I think the computer algorithm thing for NFL is in my head. I would use it more like baseball, or maybe even PGA, like shot tracker. In baseball, like launch angles and
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Like because if you see quarterback's velocity on a post route or something is whatever miles an hour, and then by week 10 it's like 6 miles an hour slower. Maybe there's something there, or like the angles, maybe some guys can't make certain throws and stuff like that. I'd be surprised if the pros don't already have access to something like that, but I think, and then you feed that into a computer and can figure something out maybe.
They've got, I believe they have, there's a way that they track how fast guys are running. I don't remember if it is, they have all the cameras set up so they can track it. They have like 20 cameras in each stadium or whatever, or if it's they have motion trackers in their jersey. But this is like, and they do this in European soccer too, so they can start to tell when guys, like even if a player might not know physically that they're declining, that they're in what they call like the red zone, not the NFL red zone, but red zone like physically. Yeah. So I bet teams are using that stuff.
Yeah, at like that player tracker level, the sprint speed stuff and like the ways you can measure burst matters a lot at the position player level, because that's more of like they test all this at the combine, but that stuff is more like functional athleticism, which like some guys who didn't grade well at the combine can grade really well on those metrics. And that's actually more important because it's how you move in the way that you gain an advantage in the game. And that matters a lot more than like what was brought up with like QB velocity on throw, because that's like a max metric anyway. Like the quarterback is never throwing it as hard as they possibly could. It's always like some combination on like where there's a lot of touch involved. That would be like if you're playing Madden and you like press down the throw button as hard as you could every time, like just throwing laser beams. It just never happens in the real game.
Yeah, that was old Madden. That's how I used to play. So I'm posting. We're live on my channels too. And so if anyone's watching on those, we have an Endgame YouTube channel. I'm going to post it here in chat. If you could do us a favor, go sub from my channel over to the Endgame channel. We're going to have a ton more content on there. I kind of wanted to tease a tool that we are probably going to have. Dan, do you think we should tease this? You're on mute, but do you think we should tease this or not yet?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet. Well,
okay, then I won't tease it.
I can tease it in the most non-committal way possible. But
okay,
there's still a way to go. So I'm working on some best ball related stuff.
Well, I had a point I wanted to talk about, but you go ahead. Finish.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Because if we're gonna do a soft tease.
Under promise. So
soft possible tease, possible tool from Nerdy Tenor added to the draft caddy for battle royales.
Oh God.
But we're kind of like he's showing us some results and we were looking at some things, and I thought, Davis, you would find this interesting.
Well, I was going to say a good bit would be Dan and I drafting battle royale teams together, and Dan just watching me just click, just being like, I think this is a good spot. I'm just clicking. Brian, your line is always if you're not testing it, it's just astrology. And me being like, oh, I think this guy probably is low enough known for him to be a good click, and then Dan just being like, oh my God, what is happening here? That would be a good bit, I think.
Yeah,
I doubt it. I'll tell you. So I've been testing this for this 2-gamer coming up, and I recognize some of the names in the draft rooms just from random streams I've seen, and people I know, and for the most part, like when I look at what people are doing who are good, my software tends to agree with their picks, which I think is a pretty good sign for both of us.
Well, I've never really played Battle Royale before. This is my first year doing it more than just like casually trying to add some chief stacks to whatever I'm doing on a Sunday. So I don't really know if what I am doing is good or not.
Yeah, it's tricky. There's a lot of pieces. Definitely takes some more work, but yeah, playing with a 2-gamer is ideal because it's a real game and it's small enough where my code can run fast enough to actually kind of handle it. So.
Okay, interesting. This is I wanted to ask you to count this as well. What would have to happen to get you to in the Battle Royale streets? How big would the prize pool have to be, or how bad would Dan need the tools tested in real time for you to be drafting $5 Battle Royale drafts?
How much can you get down?
Nothing.
I bet
not that much.
If you auto drafted every contest, I bet you could get $3,000 in.
No, you can get more than that. If you auto draft, you could probably get.
I guess if Dan's tool are so good that I could get like 150% ROI, I'll do it. On a 5K entry.
I thought you were gonna do some drafts this year. Did you?
I'm gonna do DraftKings some best ball in the last week. So
okay,
I'll do the 5-5-5. I don't know if I can click through everything, but maybe I'll get like one of my goons to help me out with that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I did do the 10K, one of the 10K. I'll probably do more of those because for a high buy-in, it seemed pretty soft. The first one I did.
You just got to get it when one of the Barstool guys is in there, and
That's
then Saquon's going at the 1-2 turn, and you just got to avoid Herzig though, or Herzig will try and challenge you to a side bet via postal note.
Interesting. I think he was in the one I was already in, so I'll take side action on that.
I don't actually think Herzig would do side action versus you, but Herzig will definitely be in there trying to peel off other people's soft action for sure. That's his bit.
Davis, the reason I brought up the tool though was in this kind of preliminary part. He's not done yet. He was showing some results, and this could change. He's not done yet, but it looks like the kind of from an equilibrium strategy standpoint, it looks like the stay in your lane bros. I don't know. Are the correct? Is the correct answer.
Meaning
everyone,
you don't snap someone's quarterback. You if someone takes Josh Allen, you let them have Kincaid type thing.
All the players, were kind of staying in their lane and drafting. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like most of the results were everyone was kind of staying in their lane.
So for the large slates, that seems to be what it's doing. I can't prove it's best yet, but it does make sense to me. You reach a point where you're incentivized to correlate with your own teams, and everyone else is too. And the tool's assuming everybody is smart like you are. So yeah, you're incentivized in a way to stay with what you have. But where that can switch is, so it's always trying to maximize EV, and in the short slate, it has absolutely no mercy. Like it'll just destroy the next player's equity by vulturing his obvious next pick, just because it's a little bit better than taking the correlated play, right? Because maybe the receiver that correlates with my quarterback, there might be enough of a projection difference where he just takes the better projected guy in a very small slate, or just for ownership reasons. So I'm curious to find out more for sure. There's a lot to do. It's for a full Sunday Battle Royale, it's quite computationally hard to do.
I was going to say that's got to be very hard because the choices, there are 16 quarterbacks with 3 eligible pass catchers, and it's like, I mean, the first question I've had while playing it, I think I've done like 5 already, is like, okay, scroll down, sure, don't have 6 100% owned guys, but then how deep does that go? Does it mean 3 100% owned guys is okay, and if you have 1 really Like the easy one is tight end, where it's like, sure, just like always take like a 5% owned tight end. Like that just feels like a pretty I would guess that shows up well in The Sims, but other than that, I feel like you're kind of just guessing.
Yeah, it's fun. The reason I'm doing this is because I think the game is cool and it's interesting, and there's a lot of stuff left to be learned, I think. So it's going to be fun.
The second thing is what Yuta was mentioning, getting money down, Dan. It's pretty tough for you to become a best ball bro and put enough time in because you have to sit there.
Yeah, I think I spent like it is pretty addictive. I can see why
it is.
Game formats are doing well. I was just using my tool to test it, air quotes, and I was like 6 hours went by, and I had been drafting like the whole time. My eyes were kind of like bleary, like my leg fell asleep. I mean, so I get it. But yeah, in terms of making serious money, I think it's probably not it for most people, unless you just love the game and it's like a nice profitable boost to make some money on it. I don't know, you know more than I do, Davis, like in terms of like how high stakes it gets like during the season. I have no idea. Probably not at all, right?
I think they run a $100 one, but I bet that's only 20 max entry.
Right.
So I think it is mostly like, but so then the other thing on top of that is most people play it that way. Like the way most people are playing it is sort of more casual, not running Sims, not thinking like, oh, they're just going in being like, I want to get my my Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir stack. Yeah, this is a thing. I mean, you want to talk about a toy game that you actually could probably solve is they do these where it's a 3-man snake draft or a head-to-head snake draft. That feels like you could deploy tools for that.
Yeah, that should be pretty easy to just. That's so small you could probably figure most of what you need on pencil and paper, right? Just like figuring out the scarcity thresholds and things. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. All right, Brian, do you want to take it behind the
Well, yeah, I think we usually go behind the paywall now. We got a lot of people watching now. Do you think we should go answer a few questions live and then go paywall, or we just go straight paywall?
I think that's good. I think this is good marketing right now. You got people on Labor Day, they're firing some drafts. I think this would be good marketing.
Okay. Well, yeah, and if you don't understand what an equilibrium strategy is, funny enough, we actually have a whole video series on game theory and toy games at endgamesyndicate.com, and we might as well go private here. So our members, get your questions in now if you haven't already, and we'll be live there in a minute. Davis, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah. All right, everyone. You guys got a nice little preview for what it's like in the Discord and behind the paywall at Endgame Syndicate. I would encourage you, if you're thinking about these things at a high level. I mean, right now is a very good time to start thinking about these things for a high level, because it's going to be the most amount of money to be won versus the worst field in daily fantasy sports. So if you are interested in the Battle Royale stuff that Dan was talking about, or how to leverage Sims, this is a good question.
Yeah, let me show the site.
Is there a way to see what potential premium videos would be available if subscribed?
Yeah, I'll just show what we have so far here.
Wow, my guy's not even a member to his own site. He's not even logged in.
I think I did that because I was testing something. I was testing some of the DraftKings, and I had to make myself not a member to see if it would stop the payment, and I haven't updated it. Does someone else want to log in?
Yeah, here. I can log in.
I guess I gotta make myself a member again, huh?
Pretty shameful stuff. Here, I'll share my tab.
Yeah, Brian, we've been meaning to tell you. Bad news.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to join Ship Nation. I got locked out of my own site.
Actually, I can't do it because I'm on Firefox right now, and it's gonna show.
Oh,
It's gonna show
Let
my
me see if I
whole
can get through.
screen, which no one wants to see.
I'll get there just a second. But not that wrong.
Here, I could do it if it's. Let me see.
Give me a second.
Classic.
Let's make sure you can see it first.
I can see it. I'm looking at it right now.
You can't share Mozilla?
You guys see this?
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Oh, you beat me.
Oops, we keep double clicking. All right,
there we go.
Are we in?
Yeah.
We're in.
Okay, so
you can
these are all the different series. We have actually quite a few now. This is the whole nerdy best ball series. It's quite extensive. These are the roundtables that we're currently doing. This is, I think, Brian, how to use ownership. Another nerdy series, which is more of
straight
toy
test. Yeah.
Yeah. Lineup building and reviews are mostly what I'm doing a lot of these where I'll take specific dates, things that happen if I have stuff to talk about. There was like a one-off thing for the DraftKings Live final. And me and Adam did like a more extensive thing about where we were going through how we each generate lineups on a given day and then answered questions about those. That was pretty big with our users. Contest sim some with Brian. This was like a sort of something that could be applied for anyone from Adam for building a process from public projections. This I have just specific no ball videos. I'm probably going to get another one in for NFL before Sunday at least. More toy games, just like really a host of things that we're all sort of well-versed to be able to speak on. And we'll be having a lot more relating to NFL coming soon.
And if you are a member, you can submit questions for these roundtables. We're about to go do a roundtable right now that's behind a paywall. You'll be able to be like, hey, man, I'm running into this problem with my Sims. I'm running into this problem with my X, Y, and Z. How would you like very, very, very in-depth stuff. So I think that if you are really trying to play this stuff at a high level, I think it is pretty obvious how that membership and how the roundtable stuff helps, in my opinion.
Yeah, those the nerdy series are kind of like hard to, I guess, understand without watching a couple of them. But there's the DFS one. There's a best ball uncorrelated sport one. We're going to do a best ball correlated one next. I think Dan is on there. And just like, toy games for people that don't know is like you kind of simplify the game you're trying to beat, and then see if you can beat the simplified version and then apply any concepts. My first experience was reading about this was mathematics poker back in the poker days. So if you're into that type of stuff, you'll like the
when are one of you guys gonna write your Sklansky book, man? When is that happening? The mathematics of daily fantasy sports.
Well, I thought I was gonna do that, and then I was like, well, this group formed. I'm like, I'll do that instead.
Might as well just make videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When ChatGPT can watch all the videos and write it for me.
Soon. Well, if they're not forced to close up shop before then. All right, that should do it. All right, guys, we are going to wrap up here. If you are interested in more of that content, head over to endgamesyndicate.com, get signed up, and the roundtable video will be up soon.